everyone, today in this video I'm going to be checking out the new Sceptre 24-inch gaming monitor. Specifically, the model of this monitor is E248W-FW100T. Sceptre did send me the sample, but any opinion expressed in this video is strictly my own. That being said, if you're interested in this monitor or you want to find out more about it, the link to it will be in the video description. Take a look at the retail box and packaging. Some of the key tech specs are as follows: Full HD 1920 by 1080, 100 Hz refresh rate, 100% sRGB, edgeless design, and AMD FreeSync. Here's a look at the side with some additional key tech specs, backside with the same tech specs, and you'll see on this side everything that's included in the box, as well as the model number right here. Now let's go ahead, let's open it up and see what's inside. Here are all the contents. First up, we have our product literature with customer service and contact card, followed by 1-year warranty information. Then you'll see we have a full user guide and manual with setup and installation instructions. They have helpful charts, diagrams, and pictures for setting everything up and getting it connected properly. Then we have a nice menu overview right here. Again, very detailed and thorough. And you'll also see supported video resolutions for DisplayPort, 1080p up to 100 Hz, HDMI 1080p up to 100 Hz as well, troubleshooting section, and warranty info again. Next, you'll see the stand in 2 pieces, base plate and arm right there, followed by our power supply. It is an external power supply, barrel plug connector. Maybe you can see the specs on there, get a feel for it. Then we have one included cable. This is going to be an HDMI cable. And lastly, we have the monitor. Let's look at that in more detail. Looking at the back of the monitor, you'll see the Sceptre logo and branding up at the top with some ventilation here. VESA mount option if you want to use your own stand. Our stand mount right here for the included stand. Speaker grills, Kensington security lock, menu and control button. Let's pop it up. You'll see right here DisplayPort, 2 HDMI ports. Then we have our audio out and our power plug right there. Everything color-coded and clearly labeled for us. Let's give you that top-down view, get a feel for how thin this monitor is. See it from the side. See it from the very bottom and the other side. And now we'll look at it from the front. We do have a nice protective cover on it. Sceptre logo and branding with the brushed metal design at the bottom. HDMI 100 Hz. Near bezel-less side and top. So get a feel for that. Also, if I peel this back, I can see where the pixels end. Right there at the tip of my thumb, if that helps you get a feel for the pixels ending. We will still have a little bit of black on the panel before we go to that really slim fingernails length, width, whatever you want to call it, for the bezel along the sides in the top. Now let's go ahead, let's get the stand installed and try it out. Here's a look at the monitor with the stand installed. This is a very basic stand. You only have tilt adjustment, and really you only have tilt back adjustment. So you can tilt this back, and there's our max tilt forward. So you get the idea. Max tilt forward, and then you'll see our max tilt back. All right, we have the monitor plugged in, powered on, connected to our gaming PC with a DisplayPort cable. Went into our advanced display settings, as you'll see right here. We're getting 1920 1080 at the 100 Hz as advertised. With this particular screen and everything you're probably gonna see in this review, it's gonna look fuzzier than it actually is in person because we have a camera pointed at a screen. So let's go ahead, let's go over some of the menu settings. Sceptre does a really good job with the menu settings in the user guide, so we'll just show you where everything is. So you're gonna press any button to bring this up. If you wanna power it down, you're gonna press down. If we wanna press up, we can adjust the volume for the monitor. Then we can look at the right-hand side, you'll see our different image presets. Left-hand side, that's gonna take us to our different sources. And then we can go back, and then we can just press it into the middle and we'll get our full menu. 1920, 1080, 100 Hz, AMD off. You'll see all that with our dashboard up at the top. Quick start settings, and again, they have descriptions right here for you for every setting. So if you're ever confused or have questions, you have that quickly available. Now we're looking at our picture settings, color settings, blue light shift if you saw that. And then we have our system settings, overdrive, FreeSync, OSD positions, and we have our nice factory reset. So quick look at the menu. Everything's clearly labeled and organized for you. Very easy to find exactly what you're looking for. Really quick, I wanted to show you the different image presets so we can toggle between them all very quickly so you'll get a feel for how things are going to change depending on which setting you choose. I typically leave my monitor in standard, but if there's a particular piece of content or game that you're playing, just quickly and easily cycle between them so you can find exactly the right preset that you want, or you can really geek out and customize it further in the menu settings. But we'll do one more scene right here, giving you each option. Keep cycling between them. Very easy to change to whatever you prefer. Now we're using UFO Test to check out different frame rates on this particular monitor. So at the bottom, 25 FPS, followed by 50 FPS and 100 FPS at that 1080, 100 Hertz mark. So take a look to get a feel for those different frame rate values at our 100 Hertz display. If you have a system that can match the performance of this spec, 1080p, 100 FPS at 100 Hertz, you'll have much smoother frame rates than you will going half that value at 50 or even a quarter of that value at 25. So that's what you need to know with the frame rates on this monitor. The higher, the better to match that refresh rate if your system allows for it. Next, we have our second UFO test up for ghosting. Very obvious looking at the UFO moving across the screen that ghosting is going to be very present with this display. So if that's something that really bothers you while you're gaming, you're probably going to want to look elsewhere. Doesn't matter which part of the UFO, whether it's the yellow cover, his green head, everything's really smearing and blurring together as it's moving across the screen, regardless of the color. It's just not very detailed. We're losing that in the frames as they're going across with the UFO on our display. So very noticeable ghosting in this monitor. There's a black screen pulled up on the monitor. I turned off all the studio lights and we looked at it with a critical eye from multiple angles to try to find any backlight bleeding. And I'm happy to report back that I did not notice any bleeding around any of the sides or anything on the display. Now keep in mind this is a VA panel for those wondering. So if you're worried about IPS glow, well, we don't have backlight bleed and it's not an IPS panel. So far so good in regards to the build quality. I know technically that could vary truly panel to panel, but in this case, all is well on our front. Moving right along, we're looking at our web browsing test right here. So we can basically browse popular websites to give you a feel for the experience you can expect. So in this case, we have the YouTube trending page pulled up. Take a look. Get a feel for how everything loads. And again, it's going to be clearer and crisper in person than what you're seeing on the display. So take it with a grain of salt. And again, with the refresh rate too, very fast and responsive here. Keep in mind our camera settings. So you'll be watching this at 4K 30 FPS. But it's looking good so far. Popular websites. Let's pull up The Verge too. Maybe you want to use this not only for watching movies, TV, but maybe for reading a lot of news and information, things like that. Let's just go ahead. Let's pull up an article. We'll click on one so you can get a feel for how everything is going to look. Again, different images, colors, font sizes, embedded images, videos, ads, audio files. I mean, you get the idea. Clear, crisp, responsive. Looks good. No glaring issues or anything like that. And then lastly, our favorite e-commerce platform. I mean, got to do a little bit of shopping with your monitor, right? So you get the idea. It's looking good, looking good, looking good. Now we're testing out the built-in speakers, streaming the song Dripping with Ice by Music Chef. Music Chef is home to DMCA safe and free music for creators to use. So let's go ahead. We'll crank the volume up right here. So we'll go to our volume button. We're currently at 50. Let's bring it all the way up. That's max 100. Hard to tell a change in volume, to be honest with you guys. Rear firing speaker, so you're gonna want to have this up against a wall and be close to it to be able to hear and enjoy the audio. Not bad. They're not fantastic, nor do I expect them to be. It's just nice this day and age to even get speakers, so if you're ever in a pinch, you have something, right? I always say I'd rather have them and not need them than need them and not have them. So you're not going to be blown away. Don't throw out your headphones or your gaming gear, whatever you have. You know, if you're going to want to use this in a quick pinch or maybe just like a gaming setup, something on the go, that's fine. But if you love audio and you're an audiophile and snob, chances are you're going to want to get a nice headset, maybe a sound bar, external speaker system, things like that. Now it's time for my favorite test. We're going to be testing out the input lag on this monitor. Now keep in mind, input lag is different from response time. Input lag is going to be the input latency, right? The amount of time between basically our electrical signal and what's displayed on the monitor. So we have 3 different quadrants to test. All right, up at the top is going to be our lowest value. We'll call it 1.4 milliseconds. That's great to see. Usually we don't get much lower than like 1.1, 1.2. Middle values coming in at 8.8, 8.9 milliseconds. And then down at the bottom, you'll see our highest value here, right at that 16.1, 16.2 range. Now it's time to talk about the color accuracy and representation with this monitor. So using DisplayCal and our handy dandy Datacolor Spider X tool here, we were able to calibrate the display to see some key metrics for you color snobs out there. So sRGB coverage coming in at 98.3%. and 113.6% for our sRGB volume. Adobe RGB coming in at 74% coverage and 78.3% volume. And last but not least, DCI P3, 78.5% coverage and 80.5% for our volume. Now the moment you've all been waiting for, let's talk about gaming. Well, even better, why don't I show you what it's like to game on this monitor? We'll be looking at footage from Forza 5, Assassin's Creed, and Borderlands 3. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten about you console gamers. We have a PlayStation 5 connected to the monitor. This is what you can expect. 1920 1080p Full HD at 60 Hertz if you want to use your PlayStation 5 with the Sceptre monitor. And for you Xbox users out there, we have the Xbox Series X connected, and you'll see we're able to get 1080p resolution at 60 Hertz. So now let me share with you my final thoughts after using the Sceptre monitor. While it's advertised as a gaming monitor, I would still view this as just a general use, productivity, and casual gaming monitor. You're not getting incredible performance specs, things like that. It will suffer from some ghosting as well too. So for this monitor, I think it's just more well-rounded for general productivity and everyday use. But with that being said, very aggressive in its affordability, which is what makes a monitor like this appealing.